everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Look who we've got today with us. We have the amazing, incomparable, funny, and sweet and kind Carrie Genzel. For Walking Dead people, we've got Clark in the building.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
It's so good to be here.
She's gonna bring us through the ringer. She's gonna ask all sorts of questions.
Oh,
No,
boy.
she's going to interview us. Yes, we are so thrilled to have you on. You are our first celebrity guest that we have on the show, so we could not be more grateful to have you here. There's so much about you that we want to delve into, and I'll just let Carol jump right in. I know she's got some interesting stuff regarding your 30-year career in acting. You've been in over 68 different roles, and you're young. You must have started when you were 5. So,
Right?
yeah. So we're anxious to hear from you and where you're at now and where you hope to be.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just a wee little girl when I started. It goes by so quickly. I started in my teens, actually. And, I grew up in Vancouver, Canada. So now there's like a very robust industry there. But when I grew up there was not a lot going on. I think we had like 21 Jump Street, MacGyver, the odd film that came by, Stargate. I don't think Stargate had started. But I started doing, commercials locally, doing, whatever I could do that was coming into town. And then I took off and moved to Toronto and worked in Toronto, Montreal. And then I moved to the US and started my career here. I'm still here. And it's been a long run, but it's been really cool. I mean, it's the industry has changed a lot and I've changed a lot and it's been pretty cool. I feel really blessed that I have been able to do so many different things in so many different genres. It's like I've gotten to do, horror, and I've gotten to do, hey, Mark, the auditor. I've gotten to do comedy. I've gotten to do all kinds of different things. And for me, that's perfect because I like to mix it up and challenge myself. So, yeah.
Well, Carol made the comment, and she was spot on. You are a chameleon.
Yes, you are. Every image that I see of you, every picture, everyone is different. It's nuts.
That's funny that you say that because my husband, Michael, he says that to me all the time. There's times that things have come on TV and he goes, wait a minute, that's you? Which I love that. Yes, it's a lot of different characters, a lot of hairstyles.
Modeling pictures are phenomenal.
The which ones?
The modeling pictures.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how I started. Going back to like my beginnings, like, there wasn't a lot of acting work in Vancouver when I was a teenager. And, I was presented with an opportunity to model. And that was something that I looked at as like my way to get to the US. I was like, I love fashion. It's fun. It's a great opportunity. I'll give it a try. And I did that for years. That was kind of like, I always laugh and say that was my like restaurant job, but it really taught me a lot because the industries are very similar. It really taught me from a young age how to be a professional in this business and what's expected of me and how to be my own advocate and speak up for myself. So it really was such a seamless transition when I was, just acting full time.
Right.
The modeling pictures are, because they're 80s and early 90s. So it's like full hair. Yeah. It's hair. It's updos. It's things.
It's all the hair.
All the hair. I had such long hair for a while there.
And you could pull off any look.
Yeah.
So your first role was in 1990 in Ski School, and you played opposite. Barb, you might as well say his last name because I will butcher it. and she's
Labrador.
yeah, she's a huge Little House on the Prairie fan. So I was like, hey, she was, his girlfriend. So,
That's hilarious. That job, this is a great example for all of you young actors out there. I booked that job through my modeling agency, right? And they wanted to have a bunch of girls up there to be the girlfriends and what have you. So we didn't know anything about the movie. We hadn't seen the script. They were shooting that up in Whistler. So we had, all got transported up the mountain. And we were like, this is interesting. It's kind of like Porky's on a ski slope, right? Which was like not really what we thought was going to go down, right? And there was nothing weird about what we were doing, but there were definitely some stuff happening that we were like, oh yeah. And they had asked us to come back, and I was like, I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh.
I am not coming back tomorrow. I'm good, thank you. But it was a really good experience for me to, again, learning to speak up for myself, learning to like check in with myself to go, am I comfortable with this? Right. And at the time I was not. And but that movie pops up every once in a while. Like it still pops up on cable, I think sometimes, and I'm streaming somewhere.
Well, obviously standing up for yourself and checking in with yourself did not hurt you in your career, which, unfortunately, a lot of actors, they face that.
That wasn't the only time I faced it. It's so different now. I for a few years I was teaching at UCLA. I was teaching with a program called the U.S. Performing Arts Camp, and so it's an opportunity for high school age kids to live on campus and take different performing arts classes and workshops. And so there were a couple of workshops that I taught, and I would remind the students all the time. It's like, we now live in an age of social media and the internet where whatever you do is there forever. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And, when I was starting, that wasn't the case. There were a lot of times when you're a young actor and you're trying to build your resume that you're like, no one's ever going to see this. Like, I just want the experience and the credit and whatever. Well, little did we know what was coming. And, there's stuff that you do where you're like, and there's also stuff sometimes that you challenge yourself with to be like, am I comfortable with this? And then you're like, no, I'm never doing that again. But like now with the internet, like there's just stuff everywhere.
Like what we found, like the movies we found, and we're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's, nowadays, like, you got to really think about stuff like that. And with streaming and cable, where there is so much nudity and so much content and so much, like, even more than ever, as an actor, you really have to think about, is that something I'm comfortable with? Is that something that is going to be okay if my grandmother happens to stumble upon it or someone emails it to her? Is that going to be okay? Am I going to feel okay about that? And you do have to think about that.
That's how we feel when we go to camp. Is there going to be nudity involved? And will this show up anywhere that my bosses will see?
Well, we know that there's going to be pictures and videos no matter what we do at the camp. So, yeah.
Exactly. Just how much nudity is going to be okay.
It's the level of comfort.
Do I need another account that's private?
Right.
Yeah. But, it's really interesting, as I keep saying too, like, as technology's gotten better, I'm getting older, and it's just not fair. Standard definition was so good for all of us.
Yeah, now we got Photoshop, so now you don't have to worry about it.
Yes, exactly.
Not fair. But it's interesting. So ski school, was a good learning moment for me, but I definitely had been kind of tested, as I was building my career and getting my feet wet. People will see what they can get away with. Yeah. There's always those people, and you've got to stand up for what is right for you, and and make sure everyone's playing fair.
Well,
Right.
you started into the daytime dramas in '95 when you joined the cast of Bold and Beautiful, but then your big breakout role, I guess you would say, came in '96 when you joined All My Children as Sky Chandler, and
There she is, right
yeah,
there.
you were over 100 episodes with them, in very short amount of time. I didn't realize how short of a time frame, 2 years, and you did over 100 episodes. Um, so one of the questions that Dawn had that kind of goes in with this is, how is daytime drama different from, say, even The Walking Dead or a movie? Because 2 years, 105 episodes, that's a big turnaround.
Yeah, and I probably did a lot more than that because IMDb didn't exist when I was on All My Children. And so it's not really accurate. But I did a lot. All My Children was a big break for me. I had started doing some indie film and some episodic TV, and the opportunity came to do All My Children. And I was like, gosh, is this something I want to do? And I had to go, they flew me to New York. I was living in LA at the time, and they flew me to New York to screen test. And I had screen tested with them probably about 6 or 8 months before that for another role, which I didn't get. And I didn't think I was going to get this role either. So I was like, all right, I'll go. It's, it's good to go and have the experience. And, and I ended up booking it, and it was a really big deal. That character, there was a lot of secrecy around that character. When I came on, I had amnesia and I didn't know who I was. It was such a great soap opera moment. And I couldn't tell people who I was. So I remember going to the Emmys, and people were like, I know who you are. I figured it out. And they're screaming from police barricades, at Radio City Music Hall. And I'm like, what? Okay, hi. And to kind of tie, I'm going to tie this into mental health, because, when you're an actor and you're working on a film or a TV series, you're very insulated from the real world, right? You go to work and you're around the cast and crew, and then you go home. You're not really exposed to other people, and, until later when it airs. With soaps, I'm trying to remember how much time there was between when we shot something and when it aired, but I don't even think it was a month. It was pretty quick. And then, you're sort of out at award shows and whatever, and fans, soap fans, are really on it, and incredible. It's such a different experience, because with a daytime drama, it's on Monday through Friday.
Right.
And no holiday or break, and you're celebrating Christmas with them and the holidays with them. And and a lot of people think that you're that person, for real. Right. And so it's a little strange, but it was a really incredible experience for me in that, All My Children, there were no cue cards, there were no teleprompters, there was no nothing. We did, on average, 30 to 35 pages of script a day. And sometimes if someone was going on vacation, which happened to me several times, you had to bank those shows. So I'd have 80, 90 pages of dialogue in one day, so that you had those shows in the can while that person was away. So it could get really crazy in terms of the dialogue, and it was really sink or swim. You were either going to know your lines and get into the groove, or you're going to get fired. It was, and so it was a lot of pressure. And I felt like I had a lot of anxiety at first, because, I went from being a working actor, again, kind of in that little insulated world of working on a show, going home, what have you, to being thrust into the spotlight where millions of people are watching you every day. You're in New York. They know you're in New York. You're walking around. You're you're in the supermarket. You're this and that. People are looking for you. People are outside the studio. And I really had a lot of anxiety at first. And it took me a while to kind of get okay with it. To be all of a sudden feel like everyone was looking at me or looking for me. I mean, I had instances where I was walking by myself and all of a sudden a police cruiser came up behind me with the lights on. And I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? And they were like, I can't believe what you did last week. like something my character had done. I was like, you guys gave me a heart attack. Like, why would you do that?
That's funny.
But it's just that interaction. And, that was like the very bare bones of the internet. Like, I can't imagine now. Like, it's like just being who I was then and being thrust into the spotlight and then having social media. Like, even then it was really weird. Like, I'd have people come up to me and go, oh, how was your flight from Vancouver yesterday? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, somebody posted in a chat room that they saw you on a flight. And I'm like, oh, that's creepy. And, people passing me notes underneath the bathroom stall, like that happened. Yes.
Oh my God.
Opera.
They weren't asking for toilet paper. They were asking for an autograph, right?
That's it. It was just very, I had some weird experiences, but, it really, because we had the schedule we did and we really just pumped out so much stuff. It was like going to boot camp. Like I really learned a lot of skills doing All My Children that I still use today. Like when you do a feature film, like you're doing maybe a page and a half a day, as opposed to 35 plus, and even Walking Dead. I mean, you're doing a lot on Walking Dead, but like, it's not 35 pages. I mean, it's a much more slower process.
And this was every day. And that's what blows my mind is how you can remember all of that so fast. And but it is training on that. Oh, look.
Oh, there we go.
So can we just talk about how much of a chameleon this woman is? I mean, she goes from Sky to Jackie.
I wish I had that wig. That was a fabulous wig. They actually made that wig for me specifically, and they measured. It was a whole thing. Like they measured me for it. It was real human hair. They cut it on my head. Like it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wig. Yeah. This scene which is so funny. We shot this in Vancouver and it was in a huge softball field. So the White House behind us is all just a massive green screen.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
Yeah. But it looked really cool in the end.
Yeah. And what's so funny is that your co-star, Jacob Young, that played J.R. Chandler, was on The Walking Dead as a Reaper named Deaver. And then from here on The Watchmen, where Jeffrey Dean Morgan was, even though you didn't have a direct relationship with those guys in The Walking Dead, it's just so funny that years later, here they are over on the same show that you're on.
Well, and with Jeffrey D. Morgan too, Supernatural, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't had a scene with him.
I think we need to start you got the 5 stages of Kevin Bacon or whatever it is.
That's
we need to do the 5 stages of Carrie Genzel. You know what I'm saying? Because there's got to be connections all over the place, and I think we're going to start that.
Yeah, that is so funny. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, Supernatural was on for so long that I feel like pretty much everyone did at least an episode.
Yeah. It's like what was it? Law and Order. Like everybody appeared on it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was, it was really exciting to get the opportunity to do 2 episodes of 2 completely different characters, both named Linda, which was weird. Yeah, and like 10 years apart, which was interesting. I died the first time, and then I guess I came back as another Linda. And both times I had stuff on my face, which I don't know what that's about. spiders, and then sparkle blood.
We will talk about Sparkle in a little bit. You know, I got to mention Sparkle.
I know. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
But, you know, Watchmen was such a huge production. I mean, it was like a whole city on itself. Like when I went in for my wardrobe fitting, it was in a warehouse, and they had each decade had its own section in the warehouse. And, you know, the dress that I'm wearing here, and then the pink suit, like everything came from the Warner Brothers vault.
Wow.
And it was flown into Vancouver, and it was all meticulously labeled. Even my shoes, they were like from Saks Fifth Avenue from 1963. I mean, it was all like meticulous, but it was pretty crazy. And when I tried on the suit, I remember walking out of the dressing room and like all the work stopped in the whole like warehouse. Everyone turned around and they went,
yeah.
Wow, quiet. Yeah. So that was really fun. That was the second time I'd worn that pink suit. But it was really, really cool. Although I was disappointed they wouldn't let me do the stunt. They wouldn't let me do the assassination.
I was wondering.
Where you crawl over the back of the car.
Yes. And my argument was, we're not going that fast. Like, because when they speed up, she's already down. Right.
Right.
I was like, she wasn't a stunt person. She did it. Yeah. But, you know, the stunt team was like,
no, we got to do that. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
They were like, insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you keep anything from this movie, Carrie?
No, are you kidding? They like all but frisk you on the way. How, you know, we weren't allowed to talk about anything when we were filming that. And there's like one lone like paparazzi shot that's like just sort of surfaced one day of Brett, who plays President Kennedy, is waiting for me at my trailer door, and you see me kind of stepping out. I have no idea how they got that shot, but there was like so much secrecy around this movie, and but everybody was so. It was just such a cool movie. I don't know that I fully understood it. And that years later, I had a very extensive conversation with Mark Hamill about it at a fan event, who is a huge fan of the comic book.
Okay, so the fact that Carrie Genzel, okay, people, can we just stop for a second? Carrie Genzel literally just name dropped Mark Hamill. Okay, it's not like she name dropped somebody on The Walking Dead, you know, or anything. She literally just dropped Luke Skywalker's name.
Yeah,
Carol, let me tell you, I nearly hyperventilated. Like it was not a casual moment.
Yeah, like my daughter just said in the comments, she said, casually having a conversation with Mark Hamill.
Right? We're kind of like, holy shit, you know.
We're like, there is no casual conversation with Luke Skywalker.
That's what I said. When someone was like, you want to meet Mark Hamill? And I was like, hold on. Just give me a moment. Okay.
I gotta take a breath.
I know, right? I was like, you don't just like fly in with, hey.
I mean, I always laugh because, you know, there's some that you are just literally fan struck over. And I always say, only thing I know to say is I carried the watermelon, you know, that's because I can't, you know, my brain won't allow me to make a, you know, coherent sentence. So I could carry the watermelon, you know.
Well, let me tell you the Jedi mind tricks that Mark Hamill plays on you when you talk to him. First of all, he's the nicest, kindest man. But I went over, you know, I was introduced to him and I was like, hello. And I'm like, I know you've heard this a million times, but you basically represent my childhood. Right. And the person that introduced us was like, you know, Carrie, you know, sort of gave some of the highlights of things I've done. And when he heard Watchmen, he's like, oh my gosh, I love Watchmen. And I was like, well, can you please explain it to me? Because I don't know that I understand.
I still understand
what the heck happened in that movie. And
oh my gosh,
how have this in-depth conversation with me about Watchmen. And I was like, thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you. And I walked away and I was like, wait a minute. This man managed to turn the whole conversation on about me. I'm like, that's some Jedi mind shit. Like,
yeah, you can't tell me he's not a Jedi in real life.
Yeah, I never asked one question. I just was like, I totally fell in his trap. It was like amazing.
Oh my
God.
God.
He's just wonderful.
Yeah. Sandy said that that show would have been amazing to have had an estate sale.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The clothes were incredible. I mean, my jaw was on the ground. I was like, I wanted to like run and like just grab a bunch of stuff, throw it in the trunk, and get
that pearl necklace alone is just to die for.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about award-winning.
Right.
Okay.
Carrie Genzel.
I feel like this is your life.
Yes, it is.
I also feel like that, Carol, your cat just jumped into Elise's lap. I don't know.
I know, right? So she has Gus and I have Yumiko. I have two cats named Yumiko and Magna from the show.
And are they similar colors?
Yes.
And this is Elvis.
Oh my gosh, because I literally was like, holy shit, what's going on? A cat just jumped from one place to the other.
And she's 4 hours away from me, so it's magic. It's a Jedi mind trick that we're playing.
That's what I thought. I was like, what is happening? If that cat walks across my desk, flipping out.
So tell us about winning the Best Actress Award for Ballerina and the Rocking Horse.
Gosh, this was a little indie project, that I was a part of in LA. And the screenwriter had known kind of about an experience. Oh, there's Miss Daphne.
Oh, there's Daphne.
An experience that I had where, just to use simple terms, where I had amnesia, where I woke up and didn't know who I was. That actually did happen to me. Here, let's see if we can get her up here. Come here.
Come on, Daphne.
Here we go.
There's Queen Daphne. There she is. Hi, baby girl.
Here's some. Look at these shaggy legs. We've got.
I love it. The bell bottoms are fantastic, Daphne.
Yeah, she's rocking the 70s. She's trying to. She's looking around at everybody. She's like, wait, I know these ladies.
Daphne.
I know these ladies. And so. The story, Ballerina the Rocking Horse, is that Emma wakes up 30 years from a coma 30 years in the future. Mm-hmm. And, life has changed around her and she's still, who she was. Right. And that's kind of how it came to be. But it was just such a sweet little project. It's just a short film, but it really took off in terms of the festivals. And it was really fun to go on that journey with the film and the filmmaker and my co-stars. And it's just such a interesting story. It's a little sci-fi, a little mysterious.
Well, I was gonna ask you what you had to do to prepare for that role. But having had a personal experience, you probably didn't have to have a whole lot of preparation because you knew emotionally and psychologically what that had to have felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really just used my own experience of waking up and just not knowing who I was or where I was, as a result of a concussion. But which actually was why she fell into a coma as well. She had a bad concussion, but it's very interesting how, as they say, right, like art imitates life and vice versa. Like there's a lot of things that come to you where you're like, like this is, wow. Like what are the odds that this script would find its way, to me? But, we as actors really tap into our own experiences a lot to bring these characters and stories to life. And, it was a little bit hard on me too. Like that's something I think when I've taught acting, especially to younger people, it's really important. And I don't think that it's talked about enough that as actors, like we really experience what our characters are experiencing, and our mind and body doesn't know we're pretending.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And so it goes through all of that emotion and all of that drama and all of that. And it can be very draining.
So it was like reliving what you had gone through again.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And so it's in terms of self-care and mental health, like it's really important after a storyline like that or a project like that to really kind of do nice things for yourself, to kind of like let it go and like kind of get back into, okay, present, here we are, present day, everything's okay. Like, you know, do some nice things for yourself, because it can really stay with you. And I know, like, you know, there have been actors that have had a hard time kind of shaking off certain roles, certain projects. So it's really important to be aware of that.
It's hard to separate, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, even going back to All My Children, when I was leaving the show, my character was like up to no good the whole time I was there. She was such a troublemaker, and she was meddling in everyone's life. And then, like, I called it her confession tour. Like, when the character was leaving, it's like I went and like told everybody what I did, and it was like crocodile tears, and then people telling me that I'm awful and I can't believe you did that, whatever. And I felt like so beat up, like, at the end of it, you know, because again, like, I'm absorbing all of that energy, even though it's my job and it's not real. You know, my mind doesn't know that, my body doesn't know that, and you know, it feels very real in the moment. So it's important to like reset after something like that.
Absolutely.
So here we are in Stargate.
Yes.
Which I absolutely devoured this entire series. Because I am a sci-fi geek at heart.
There you go.
So
yeah, Stargate, I still get a lot of comments from people, you know, that it has such a huge following, Stargate. I'm surprised. I know they're always kind of hinting that maybe there'll be another one or what have you, but all right, I think the fans would love it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. But it was a really fun show to work on, and an episode. And although, like, I didn't see the Stargate, like, I have this, let me just say, I have this, like, record of, like, getting on a show, and I don't actually ever interact or see, like, the thing that the show
know.
Is. Like, you know, like Walking Dead, no zombies. I saw not a one. Not a one. Not even in the...
You didn't even get to turn. You didn't get nothing.
You didn't even get to kill. You didn't even get to kill one, did you?
I didn't get to do any of that. I was in another zombie project called Dead Rising, Watchtower. I was in a newsroom for the entire movie.
Wow.
No zombies. Although I was in a newsroom with Rob Riggle for the entire movie, which was hilarious. And we had so much fun. But no zombies, right? The only zombies I saw were at the premiere.
Yeah.
That was it.
My daughter said not a crumb. And then Aaron said, we want justice. So we want justice for Clark.
Exactly.
Clark needs to either come back and kill a zombie, or she needs to turn.
Right.
Okay. You know, I did tease this earlier before we were on the air. Clark actually was supposed to come back.
Oh, yes. Let's get to that.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
And then they rewrote the script. Well, and when you think back, if you think back, there's a natural spot where you can tell she was supposed to be. And that was when Negan got to the Commonwealth.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That
when you would have been amazing. Like when that would have been my moment where it came full circle.
I know.
So if you think back to that scene, he's sitting in the interrogation room, and there's an empty chair that's pulled out. Guess whose chair that was?
Do you have any idea of why they switched it?
You know, I have no clue. I know that they had contacted my agent and said, is Carrie available? And we were like, yeah, you know, I was working on something else at the time, but it was doable. Right. Yeah. And then I think they just rewrote the script. You know, it happens a lot. They had so much to do, too much to do in the time that they had to do it.
Right.
With such a large cast and so many storylines to wrap up, that I think that had that just have been a regular season or season 12, she probably would have come back. But I just think they had so much to wrap up. I mean,
we're hoping that they bring the show back together, and you know, maybe they could bring you back for another season as, you know, instead of Rick Grimes asking the 3 questions, maybe it can be Clark asking the
Maybe she's
Yeah, maybe Clark can be doing Rick Grimes' intake.
There you
That's
go. Rick
right.
Grimes intake.
She
There
got a
you
new
go.
job.
Right.
You know, it's very interesting because, like, you know, it's funny because I love the fan interaction of people trying to figure out like who she is or where she went or, you know, what happened. They're like, you know, maybe she left, like maybe she went here. You know, I always found it very interesting that that they chose the name Clark for her because that I assume was her last name.
Yeah.
Like, so why would you choose Clark?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there a relation there? Like what, you know, I don't know. So many questions, but we may never know, but maybe she'll pop up again.
Yeah,
somewhere.
she'll be like Heath just shows up.
Yeah, Clark does not need to go to New York and interview Crow. I don't know where she took off to. It just seemed crazy when the shit was hitting the fan in the Commonwealth that she was just gone.
She was gone. She's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. She's like, I'm done. Never liked Pamela to begin
Like,
with.
that's why there was just an empty chair. She was like, I'm out. Thanks.
That's so funny.
That's funny.
There she is.
There it is.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we had to get to Sparkles. I'm sorry. Had to do it.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, this is my absolute favorite episode of Supernatural. I love the imaginary friends concept. And I was explaining to the girls earlier before we came on that, you know, when you guys were filming, the concept is that Sparkles was an imaginary friend who gets slain in your daughter's room.
Yes.
And you cannot see the mayhem that has happened in this room. And yet you're touching your face and, you know, you've got all this blood and everything on your face. And so, of course, this episode had to be mentioned.
Yes. You know, the rule of thumb was with Supernatural was that if you had done the show before, it had to have been at least 5 seasons before you could come back, right? And there's a lot of us that did multiple characters in different seasons. And so but it wasn't really until probably 7 or 8 years that they started to like call me back to audition. And so there were like a lot of things I auditioned for that never happened. And so when this came about, I was like, I don't know, just go in, I'll do it. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. And in the audition, in the sides, they took out, they were so famous for this. They would like redact stuff, right? And they took out the part about the sparkle blood. So like it said that she like touches her face. And I thought, well, that's weird. I wonder why she's doing that. Like, but I instinctually just did it in the audition. I guess because it was in my head, because I was wondering why she was doing that. But it was like such a crazy thing to film because my character can't see that there's a dead unicorn and all over the room. And not only that, you know, there's Sully, who's an imaginary friend who is hilarious. And I can't even acknowledge that he's in the room. Right. So, and then on top of it, like, you know, Rich, who's there with me there, it was his very first time directing, which I didn't know at the time because he was so great. And he came up to me before and he's like, Carrie, you've got to promise me that you're not going to laugh. He's like, I know the boys are going to make you laugh. They're going to make funny faces. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. It's all of it. Please promise me that you won't laugh, because if you laugh, we're going to be an hour behind because we got to take everything off, put it back on, you know, whatever.
Oh my God.
I was like, Rich, I promise you, no matter what happens, I got your back. I will not break. So in the scene, I'm talking and they have me sit down on this bench. And on the bench, they have these 2 pools of sparkle blood, right? So when I sit down, I put my hands down so it doesn't look like anything weird, but I'm really just loading up my hands with blood, right?
Right.
And then I do, my lines and I do this and it goes all over. And like, I can see their faces immediately like, holy shit, this looks crazy, right? And I'm like, no. Not laughing. I'm going to ignore everything I can't see. I'm going to, okay. So my character stands up and starts talking. Well, as I stand up, now I've had fake blood on me lots of times and fake blood, but these had also chunky glitter in it.
Yeah.
And what happened is it all started to like come down and a big piece of glitter went in my eye during the scene. Okay. And all I can think of is like, holy shit, it feels like there's a machete in my eye. And B, I promised Rich that I would not wreck this scene. So the whole time the scene's going on, I literally am doing this. I'm like, Jared Jensen, say your line. Oh, Jared Jensen, say your line. Jared Jensen. Like I'm just trying to like, don't look at Nate, Jared Jensen, I'm just trying to get through the scene. So they're like, cut, and I'm like, makeup! Like, I was like, oh my God, my eye! And Rich was like, thank you so much. We did it, anyway. And I didn't want to see my face because I didn't want to get the giggles. Like I just didn't want to. I could see everybody else's face, but I was like, I don't want to see it. So
one of the questions that we got from Zanib was, what was it like working with Jared and Jensen?
Oh my gosh, great. I mean, Jared and Jensen they're just so fun to work with. And, at that point it was cool to come back because when I worked on the show, it was like the first season, I think it was episode 7. Supernatural had just started to air. Yeah, there it is. The spiders.
Yeah.
It had just started to air. So like it certainly didn't come out and was a hit immediately. It was really different from what was on, especially on the CW. Like they had Buffy, but it was more comedic. And, Supernatural was really dark at the beginning.
Yeah.
Even in the way they shot it, it was really dark. And, so everyone was like, we don't know if this is really going to fly. Like, and it became like one of the biggest hits. So to come back and they were single then and newly in Vancouver and to come back 10 years later, they're married, they got kids. Like I was like, hey, what have you guys been doing? Like, they're like really brothers, and so they're always making jokes and they're making comments and they're like, goofing around and stuff like that.
It was actually Jensen and his now wife that introduced JDM and Hillary.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
They set them up on a blind date. So
see, they're also good matchmakers.
They're matchmakers.
They're really fun. And I say this all the time of like, for a show to go as many seasons as Supernatural did, they're really the captains of the ship, and when you have two people who are there for the right reasons and really make it a family, it makes it a really fun place to work. And it certainly was a really incredible place to work twice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I got this slide because, of course, everybody in the comments, if they know me, that I am deathly afraid of spiders, because I put this slide up because of this next slide.
Okay.
And this is a picture that I found. I just have to question your sanity, Carrie.
Oh, Lord.
Carrie, that's not even the worst of it.
Why? Right? I need to know, is that your hand?
That's what I said.
It is my hand, and that's a real life tarantula.
No.
I got the EBGB.
No, ma'am.
Nope.
So when I auditioned for Bugs, the episode Bugs, I was very afraid of spiders. Okay.
Yeah.
And I went and auditioned for the show, and Kim Manners directed that episode. And Kim was such an incredible director. He directed some of like the most memorable X-Files episodes, which I'm a big X-Files fan. So I was like, "Ooh, I really want to work with Kim," right? So I do the scenes, and then Kim like leans over and he's like, "Carrie, I'm going to need you just brace yourself, Carol. I'm going to need you.
No.
I'm going to need you to be laying on the floor and you're going to be dead. And we're going to dump a bunch of tarantulas on you.
No.
And we're going to pan down your body and I want your mouth open. Do you think you can do that? Do you think you can do that? And me, deer in the headlights, I think at that point I just blacked out and I said, I can do that.
Nope.
And then I left the room. And then I walked back to my car and I was like, no, I can't do that. Like, what the hell did I just say? I can't do any of that. Like, and I'm like, okay. There are lots of great women in the room. There are lots of people auditioning. That doesn't mean I'm going to get the role. It's fine. I'm going to shake it off. I'm going to go home. And of course I get the part, right? And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. So I get a call from production and they're like, hi, we would like you to go meet the bug people. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a really fun afternoon. When is this happening?
Right? The bug people.
So I drive out to the lot and there's a trailer and I knock on the door and I walk in and there's a lot of everything's basically crawling or slithering. It's like, right? There's all these like aquarium things and things. And I'm like, okay, hi, I'm Carrie. So everything, how are you? Like, try to act cool. So he's like, all right, I just want to make sure you're going to be okay on the day. And so I just want to give you the spiders' do's and don'ts. And I was like, let's start with the don'ts because I don't want to do anything they don't want. Like, let's start with the don'ts. And he's like, and as we're talking, I'm just going to put some spiders on you. But just keep talking. And, we'll just have a conversation. I was like, right, because this is a normal Tuesday. Great. Okay. So we're talking and he puts them on me and they start crawling around and I'm trying to act really cool, but there's like buckets of sweat coming out, right? Like I was like, this is so normal. And as we're talking, just get a fan, Carol. As we're talking, goes in my ear.
No.
And doesn't come out. Doesn't come out. And so like he's going on and on about like they don't like, damp places and they don't like this and don't, this and I'm like, Hey, so I have a question. There's a spider in my ear. It's not coming out. And he goes, no, wait, no problem. He goes in his desk. I don't have a Bic, but he pulls out a Bic, right? The blue with the thing. And he pulls this thing. And he goes in my ear. And he goes, boop, and he pops out. And he goes, all right, well, if that didn't bother you, you're going to be fine. And I'm like thinking, holy shit, I'm passed out.
That's awesome.
Like, we're going to give you earplugs on the day so that doesn't happen again. And I was like, he's like, before we film.
Why couldn't they just?
I just literally had an out-of-body experience.
I know. So he's like, before we film, just make sure to lick your lips because they don't like damp and they will try to go in your mouth. This is what he said. They will try to go in your mouth because they like dark places, but they're not going to like that it's damp. And I'm like, okay, that sounds fine.
No.
So lo and behold, and I'm also naked because I fall out of the shower.
Yeah.
So like I'm basically wearing tape. Okay. Laying on the floor, okay, they have all these Tupperware looking containers full of 180 baby tarantulas.
Oh my God.
They dump them on me. Tomorrow I'm going to freaking lose it. They dump them on me. And remember, I'm dead. Eyes closed, mouth open.
No.
And the camera laid out. The camera does a slow pan, okay? I can hear it going by me, right? As it's going by me, one of them bites me in the forehead. Right here.
God.
And I'm like, oh no. Okay, that's not good. It's not good. I'm like trying not to move my mouth. I'm like, that's not good. I wonder how much time I have. Like, So they're like, cut. And I was like,
Oh my God.
So the guy they come in, they start. Let's also talk about the fact that it takes 20 to 30 minutes to get them off me because they take them one with a plastic spoon, one by one. They take them off, and again, they like dark places, so they're like going into like folds and things, right? It's like I'm not wearing anything. So they're like, like 3 people trying to get all the spiders. Right?
Oh, no, I would have like just jumped up and said, "Oh hell no!"
When we discussed
oh,
my
hell
head,
no.
he goes, "Oh yeah, there's a little red mark there. I don't think it's old enough to break through all the layers of skin. You don't think?
What?
Or do you know?"
Hi.
Anybody else? I need another opinion.
So if Rick Grimes had to kill a damn CGI deer, why couldn't they have given you CGI spiders?
Well, here's the thing. In the shower, those are CGI because you can't have like running water and spiders everywhere. It doesn't work. But all the other ones are real. Yeah. So now I'm not afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
But as a trooper, you got through it. Carol didn't, but she did.
Really didn't get through that story.
I don't know what they paid you, but they did not pay you enough.
Those spiders.
They actually paid me very well to do that.
Good. It still wasn't enough.
There you go. Thank you.
You go from spiders to Daphne. Look at that.
Can we focus on something that's like a little bit more? Oh, and I did that to myself, people. That was not Carrie. I'm the one who picked those slides. I did that to myself. You did.
I thought that was awesome, by the way.
Ay, Dios. Okay. All right. So, yeah, Samara, got me all the way fucked up too. Absolutely, baby.
Try not to think about that at night. Oh, hey, Ben.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did that because Ben Gilbert is part of our family, and of course he's been to your State of Slay conversations that we've had at the camp too, and I know that that's his favorite episode that you did of Supernatural. Wow. So let's move on to Queen Daphne, shall we? And all the wonderful things that she is involved in. And I had to pick that slide because she's an absolute love bug.
I know.
But these are some of the things that Carrie is involved in. Not only is Carrie a mental health advocate and very much into that, she does Attitudes in Reverse. She does the air therapy dogs. And of course, she does the State of Slay stuff. Absolutely. And if you follow Carrie and anything, you know Carrie about the State of Slay because she's constantly posting on Facebook about updates, and every day she's got these phenomenal, wonderful pieces of inspiration and all of that. So Carrie, talk to us about Attitudes in Reverse and about the air therapy dog program.
Yeah. So Attitudes in Reverse, I was connected with Trish Baker, who is one of the founders of Attitudes in Reverse, through the Supernatural fandom. I was at a convention and as we do, right? And a fan of the show was like, was a big follower of mine on State of Slay and was like, you need to go talk to Trish. And I was like, okay. And we hit it off, and she had asked me to speak as part of their programming when they were going to be in LA. And I was like, great, I'm happy to do that and share my story. And that's kind of how that relationship started. And when we got Daphne, Trish, we were at another fan event, and Trish was there, and Daphne was with us, and she's like, she's such a natural with people, and she seems to instinctually really go to people that really need her, or that may be feeling anxious or sad or what have you. And she just always had that instinct, and kind of knew who to go to. And she's like, would you consider training her? And so we actually did her training during COVID. So she learned remotely, which was kind of funny. But at the really, it's us that has to work with Daphne. So it makes sense, it was fine. Mm-hmm. But we did it all remotely, which was really cute. And whenever Daphne would see Trish, like on the laptop, she'd go over and touch her nose to the screen. It was like the craziest thing. She'd be like, hello. Mm-hmm. And so Daphne, when I into classrooms, Daphne gets invited to go in with me, and we usually like to kind of keep her to the side because she's a little distracting because she's cute and everyone's like, who's that? And then no one's listening to me. But she gets to meet all the students afterwards. And it's a really wonderful way to break the ice with people because they want to meet Daphne, and they start petting Daphne and asking about Daphne. And it's an easier sort of entry point into what may be going on for somebody. And it makes them feel comfortable. And I've had some really incredible conversations with people because of Daphne, about what's happening for them and their mental health and what they're going through. She just really kind of brings a sense of ease to the situation. So, she's an air dog, and, she loves it. She thinks everyone's just there to meet her, So,
We are.
yeah, exactly. Just like when she comes to a con, she like walks in like, hello, hello, hello. Like she's like, like everyone's just there for her.
So is the air therapy dogs program, is that something that where the dogs can register and they can, the owners can train them themselves remotely, or?
No, they do. Like Trish is also, she's a certified dog trainer. And so she does train dogs. She may still be doing remote learning. I'm not sure. We did it during COVID. So, but she's based in New Jersey, and she does train therapy dogs and service dogs. But she also brings dogs into schools along with her programming for suicide prevention and mental health.
Gotcha.
And she has number of programs that she does. It's really incredible what she does. And she's out there every day going to schools to talk mainly about suicide prevention. She lost her son to suicide a number of years ago, and she and her husband launched this nonprofit. And so, it's really incredible what they do, and just the message they bring, and the education they bring around it.
That's awesome.
So tell us about State of Slay. Tell us about State of Slay. I mean, I know it's like, kicking every day in the ass and making the most of it, but Slay actually stands for something.
Yes, it's actually an acronym for Self, Love, Appreciate You. State of Slay came about, I think, in my own journey with mental health and sort of noticing just so much negativity on social media in particular, I really started to focus my posts on, positive messages. And I started getting like a lot of messages from people saying, oh my gosh, you should blog, or you should do this, or you should do that. And I was like, no, I don't write. I'm not a writer, but it kept happening. And I'm a big believer in like, when something keeps getting presented to you, like, look at that. There's a reason for it. And just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean you can't do it. Right. Just say yes. Right. Say yes to the opportunity. And so it was something that I really thought a lot about, because in terms of how I interacted with the press or even social media outside of putting positive messages out, I never really discussed my mental health with people. I think that I too still had a little bit of fear around that, of like, gosh, are people going to look at me differently? Or, is this, how is this going to be received? And when I kept getting all this reinforcement to share my story, and I did a lot of like that in person with people, but I wasn't really talking about it online. I just was like, you know what? I gotta share my truth, because there's someone out there that might need to hear it.
Right.
And it was really scary that first time to hit publish and be like, oh, there it is. Like, but what happened is just a community, kind of sprung up around it. And there have been so many people that have come into my life as a result of it, or people that have reached out to me. It's really helped me a lot in my journey. There's over 500 blogs that I've written on State of Slay. And so there's a lot there. And, it has been such a blessing to me, to be able to share my story, and an honor to share my story with people and have them do the same with me, and allow them to feel comfortable to share theirs is an incredible honor. So, yeah.
Well, State of Slay, your own personal journey of emotional and mental healing um, has been rooted in forgiveness of others, forgiveness of yourself, and self
Yes.
love. What is the best piece of advice that you have gotten? And what do you think is the best piece of advice you have given?
Oh my gosh. Those are great questions. I think that the best advice that I ever got was, oh, thank you, Sandy. Gosh, there's so many things flooding through my head. I mean, for me, this is a journey that's over 17 years. And I'm so grateful that, somebody came into my life when I was really at my darkest point, who, was on his own journey, but like really shared what it was like for him. Because his life at that point looked pretty great. And it was great, but he had been through a lot. And I think that what I took away from that, and when I felt like I had kind of hit that wall, when I'd hit that bottom, it was he who I reached out to, because I trusted him, because I knew he was going to understand. And I think that, the biggest thing I can say is to, find that person, find those people who you can trust, who are going to understand, and to let go of that fear of like, if I say this, everybody's going to think I'm crazy, or they're going to look down on me, or they're not going to want to talk to me, because none of that is true.
Mm-hmm.
What I found is when I actually shared my truth, I had an abundance of support. Thank you, Ben. I had an abundance of support around me, and, more than I ever could have imagined. And what it did, it didn't separate me from people. It connected me with people, because even people that had been in my life 10, 12 years were like, I never told you this, but this was my experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about you. It connected me with people. It's connected me with people all over the world. So I think that just share your truth, and know that there is a solution out there.
Well, the attitudes in reverse, what I was doing some research on that, is that more programmatically driven towards young adults and kids, or is that something for everyone of all ages? It felt like it was more for the youth and young adults.
Yes, it is focused on going into schools and talking to youth and young adults. I think, Trish, because she lost her son and he was in high school, and the school did not handle it very well. She really wanted to set up a program where there was some education and a conversation started. You're hard pressed nowadays to find somebody who hasn't been touched by suicide at all. And for especially students, even really young students, it's shocking how many of them, when you ask them, how many hands go up.
Right.
And especially the last number of years, it's been very prevalent with students, with lots of different people from all walks of life.
Right.
So yeah, that's her focus. But it's pretty powerful. Her story is very powerful, and the education that she brings around it is very powerful. I wrote a pamphlet for them that they have, that when they do events and stuff about fear, about overcoming fear. So yeah, Trish is a pretty incredible woman.
Well, that's such an important area to focus on, because the rate of suicide among young kids is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I do active shooter training for school districts, and one of the things now that I'm having to work on As 2 years ago, as we had a student who shot himself in school in the lunch cafeteria. That was his payback. Instead of shooting everyone else, he shot himself in front of everyone. And so, in an age of social media, there's a lot of keyboard vigilantes and keyboard bullies. And so her program is amazing, and it's so very much needed.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They're a nonprofit. They run based on donations, and it's pretty incredible what she's built out of a really tragic loss. She's a really wonderful person. Her and her husband do great work.
I just have one more question, and then we'll get into closing. You and Michael eloped in 2019, right before the pandemic. So, did you anticipate your honeymoon would be a quarantine adventure?
No.
Yeah, I had that question. I had that question about you being quarantined at the Tyler Perry Studios.
Yes.
How did you guys manage that?
It was crazy. I'll go back quickly. It's like, they always say like the first year of marriage is the hardest, and like try being like quarantined together during a global pandemic when the whole world is upside down. And you're like, what the heck? Not only that, Michael and I eloped because we wanted to get married, and our families are all spread out all over the place. And so we're like, you know what? Let's just go do it and not tell anybody. And then we'll plan a wedding when we can get everyone together. Well, so we eloped and we didn't tell anybody, right? And then the whole world shuts down, and I was like, I feel like we should probably tell our parents that we got married, because I don't know when we're gonna get like set out in the wild again and people are going to be traveling. So we would like call everyone and be like, hey, so I have some news. Michael and I have been married for like 6 months.
Can he
don't end it yet, Eliza. I still have that one question.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, we're not.
Yeah. So like, so my first job back, which was Sisters for Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry was the first person back working in Atlanta, and we had to go and live on the Tyler Perry studio lot. Now, it used to be a fort, so there's housing there, right? There's full on housing there. It's like a little city. And so, but we couldn't leave. So we had to like check in. We'd go check in. People were in full on hazmat suits. Like it was crazy. And then we had to go, and they gave us a COVID test, and we had to go live in the barracks, like in these little rooms, right? Where they were like, there was like a seal on them. So we knew they were clean. We had to break the seal, go in, lock the door. We could not leave, right? It was like a little hotel room, right? We had like our room and a bathroom. We had to stay in there until we got the text message that says you're all clear, and then we could leave. But it went, like, I was in there for most of the day. I don't think I was in there for 6, 7, 8 hours. Like, and then we got food, and they would drop it off. They would not interact with you. They would come in a hazmat suit and put your tray outside your door, and then you had to go. Anyway, but once you were cleared, you could go move into your housing, right? But we literally I lived on the lot for like 10 days, and it was all like, that studio lot is huge. It's like bigger than anything that's in LA. It's a beautiful lot, but he had it all. There was about, I don't even know if it was half, but it was a big space, and it was all fenced off, and it felt like The Walking Dead, because it said quarantine zone, like do not enter. Like it was crazy. But like so while I was in there, I booked The Walking Dead, right? And they wanted, initially Clark was supposed to be in the armor, in the
stormtrooper outfit.
And the stormtrooper outfit, which I was like super excited about as a Star Wars fan. I was like, yes! And the problem is like, they make those, right? And like, for the character, for if you're a cast member, they make them specially for you and fit you for them. And I was stuck in quarantine, right? And they were like adamant that I had to be out to get measured and this whole thing. And so and I was still working. So my agent, because she knew I was a big Walking Dead fan and I would die if I like didn't get to do it. She actually wrote a letter to Tyler Perry explaining that I had booked The Walking Dead and that they needed me to get out of quarantine for a fitting. And that we would really appreciate it if they would be able to accommodate that. So he actually moved the schedule around so I could get out early.
Oh, nice.
Which was really nice.
Wow.
And get to my fitting. And then I go to the fitting and I'm ready. Like, I'm like, let's stormtroop it up. Let's go. And there's a rack of suits. And I'm like,
what? Where's my stormtrooper?
Clark.
Yeah.
You got the wrong character. And she's like, oh yeah, they changed their mind. They want you guys in suits. And I was like, really?
Well, crap.
Yeah. But in the end, right, we all know how comfortable those were. She's like, trust me, you're going to be happier in the suit.
True.
So Regina wants to know, did you guys actually have your wedding?
No, we never did. Now I think we might just wait for like our 5-year and we'll do
just have a big reception and we'll all come.
Exactly. It's just it's so difficult because everyone's so spread out, and that we're like, we're married. Everyone's
we'll show up in stormtrooper outfits.
There you go.
We can have a Star Wars wedding.
There you go.
Right?
Barb, you had a question for Carrie?
Yes.
Okay. So during your career, has any of your acting roles impacted you or helped you to be the outstanding person you are today?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, it's very, very interesting because I really, truly believe there are no mistakes or coincidences. When I look back at certain roles in my life, I go, oh, it's very interesting kind of which characters were coming to me and how in the moment of playing that character, I might not have had the insight I do now to go, oh shit, that's me. Right? I've just been like, well, I'm really drawn to this character, but like not necessarily putting the pieces together. Right. Now, after many, many years of working on myself and therapy, et cetera, I'm faster to like make those connections. But, it's very interesting. Skye Chandler, that role on All My Children, really, I think as I played her for such a long period of time and shot so much with her that, there was a lot that I really took away from that. And there's always a bit of me in every character. So
right.
Well,
I take them all with me.
You and I had spoke a little bit this week regarding the strike that's going on between both the writers and the actors. Sandy had asked, kind of what your stance was. And I knew that you and I had spoke a little bit briefly about it. And I don't want us to fall too far down that rabbit hole. But, there's probably, and I was saying this to you, a lot of normal, regular folk like us don't realize that you guys are just as normal and regular as us, that you work paycheck to paycheck, and that there's not all Tom Cruises are out there. So understanding that, is there anything that the fans can do to support you guys for those who are active in the strike? I know that right now you've kind of stepped away from acting. So kind of, I guess that's twofold, is what can we do to help support the actors and writers? And what do you have in the pipeline for you?
Wow. Yeah, we did get into that a little bit. I think that, and we talked a little bit about kind of the sort of perception of what people think our lives are like as actors. And, for a lot of us working actors, it's not, swimming pools and private jets and, all of that fun stuff. It's really no. But, there's most actors really are working job to job. And a lot of them have secondary sources of income in between each job as well. And it's changed a lot. I think, Lisa, we had talked a little bit about this of like, I, at the beginning of the year, decided to kind of step away from acting and and take a break from it and focus on TV development.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of where my passion is right now. But one of the reasons why it was easy for me to make that decision are the reasons why they're striking, is that it became more and more difficult to actually earn a living as an actor, even with 30 plus years of experience, because of the way the pay structure is. And so I was like, this is really crazy. It's like I've sacrificed so much, and I've put in the time, and I've studied, and I've given back, and and yet it's becoming increasingly more and more and more difficult to not only earn a living, but to have healthcare. Right.
Because you guys, as actors, you have to make, is it like $27,000 a year to maintain the insurance with SAG?
I don't even recall what it is. I mean, to be honest, I've been working, you read out my my resume and different credits and so forth. I haven't qualified for SAG insurance for, I don't even know how long. It's been that long. That's how hard it is to actually get the insurance.
Okay.
So, it's that like like a lot of industries, right, where people are claiming, well, we don't have the budget, and we're tightening, and doing all this stuff. Like, somebody's making money off this stuff, and
somebody, look at Barbie, just cleared, it just passed $1 billion. So
yeah,
Margot Robbie isn't getting all of that. We know,
Yeah.
So.
Right. And I think, as actors, it's really tough, especially with streaming platforms and so forth. I was saying to you, like, there's a lot of shows, very, very, very popular shows that I've been on, and I've never gotten residuals for them, and I probably never will, but they're running all the time, and they're streaming. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's really, it's tough, and it's tough to be able to it's tough for people just to stop working,
Mm-hmm.
and things are already tight for a lot of people. But I feel like we're in a bit of a crossroads, and I feel like if it's not now, then when.
And one of the big points of contention is the utilization of AI, where we have a lot of friends who make a living as the A-list background actors, so they're closer to the A-list actors. Right. And that's their job. And the AI is saying they can scan them, use them one day, and then scan their image and AI their image for the rest of the movie. And I'm like, no.
Right. Well, no, for the rest of time.
For the rest of time.
Ever. Yeah. Even after you're gone.
And there are no limitations on Zoom or anything like that. I was reading through the Zoom shit today, and it's crazy how there are no types of limitations on what Zoom can use. And that's just a Zoom program.
Right.
That's not even the media. That's not movies. Yeah. It's not television. It's not commercials. It's not, print work. It's not ad work. It's crazy.
It's really, really, really crazy. And, it's, as an actor, it's like our image and our voice, like those are unique to us. And those are our tools for expression and to, tell stories and create our art. And, to think that they can just use whatever they want and not compensate you for it and yet profit from it is really frightening.
Right.
Yeah, because you were telling me, Carrie, that and it is probably very true. The mindset of actors is, yes, we love what we do and we would do it for free, but it's the fact of that you have to get there, you have to leave your family, you have to maintain a certain weight for a certain show, and you have to maintain a certain health level for a particular role. So there's a lot of things on the outside that we don't see on the screen, and that made a lot of sense to me, because you were saying they were wanting you to to drive, like they wouldn't fly you, so they were going to have you drive like 8 hours to do a show. And so but is there anything that we as the fans can do to try to help support, or right now is it just a matter of us saying we support you guys? Because we have several actors that want to come on our show, but right now they can't. And we understand that, and we respect that, So we
Right.
just didn't know if there was anything that we can do as little old people to help you guys.
I feel like you guys are doing it. I mean, I'm seeing you guys support on social media and talking about it. And I think just even wanting to educate yourself about what the issues are is really helpful. Like I said, most actors, as at least I said this to you earlier this week, it's like most actors never even in the guild never even achieve what I've achieved.
Right.
It's so hard to get work and consistently have work. The Tom Cruises, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Aniston, that's such a rarefied, echelon of actors that, for the most part, though, we're working hard, and the job just happens to be in the public,
But do you have anything in your pipeline you can share with us that we can be on the lookout for?
Nothing acting wise. Like I said, I've really taken a dive into development, and I'm really enjoying that, and being a storyteller in that way. So when I have something to share, I will. But it's very fun to be on the other side of it in terms of being a producer and going. I had a meeting today with a production company and like talking about my projects and so forth. So I'm still a storyteller, just a different kind of storyteller, but I'm loving it. And, I still get to be creative that way. And then, my husband and I also have a web design and digital branding company called Rivi Web, RIVI Web. .com. And so I get to be creative that way too, because when I get to go in there and design, imagery and logos and different things. And it's something we can do together. And so that's enjoyable to me too. It's not to say that I'm never going to be an actor again or step on a set, but I just felt like I needed to take a reset, at the beginning of the year, just because I was getting frustrated.
Right.
With the way things have been. And, you do sacrifice a lot, like a lot of professions, but, as an actor, there's a lot of expectations that are placed on us. There's a lot of sacrifices we make, as an actor. I've missed big milestones in family members and loved ones' lives because I've been on set or I'm traveling or what have you. You have to maintain and look a certain way, and if you're under contract, you have to stay looking that same way, and so there's a lot that goes into it, continuously working on your craft, and but I love it, and I love the people it's connected me to, and I love the community. But for me, I'm like, I need to focus on this side of the business for now. So yeah, I don't have anything coming down the pipeline in terms of acting, but that doesn't mean I never will.
Well, you and I had also spoken, and you are familiar with James Lipton and Inside the Actor Studio. So closing our session today, I would like to go over the Marcel Proust questions with you.
Uh-huh.
So what is your favorite word?
Fuck.
That's hilarious.
That's my girl right there.
Well, that was going to be the favorite curse word. So I guess we'll do that as a double.
No, we'll get to that one.
Okay. Whoa, my goodness. What is your least favorite word? Least favorite?
No.
I love this woman.
What turns you on? And what turns you on?
Ambition. Yes.
What turns you off?
Complacency.
Good. What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of Daphne sniffing in my ear.
Oh, I do too. Not Daphne, but Preston.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The garbage trucks on Monday morning.
Awesome.
It's such an awful way to start the week.
Oh, okay. So now what is your favorite curse word?
Motherfucker.
Yes. Yes.
There it is.
There it is.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I want to be a detective.
Ooh,
I love true crime, and I love like solving mysteries.
Look at you, you sassy bitch.
I tell you, we need to have a murder mystery with you.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love that stuff. Michael and I both get into the true crime stuff, and
I do too. Yeah.
I think that if I had been, you know, in a different mindset when I was, you know, in school, I probably would have like gone into like law enforcement and like a detective, like,
That's
or
what I wanted to do too.
I'm not super sciencey, so I don't know if I'm a good CSI, but I love like putting the puzzle pieces together.
Carrie's the kind of person who watches crime and murder mysteries to relax in the evenings.
I totally do.
That's what I do. I mean, the ID channel.
I love it.
The ID channel is pretty much what I watch. If you know.
Yeah.
And then I can't like fall asleep because I'm like, but why did she drive down that road by herself?
Right? Well, yeah. It's like watching horror movies. It's like, don't open that door. Turn the damn lights on.
Can you not hear the music?
Right. I get all into it. And you know, there's so many podcasts and there's different, like, I would totally go like hang out at the police station and be like, what are we doing today?
Oh my God.
Like,
Can you imagine?
we gotta leave. Let's go. Like,
Can you imagine her on, you see, now you need to try to get on at least one time a Law and Order SVU with Mariska Hargitay.
oh, that's true. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That would be great. So what
I love
profession would you not want to do?
Oh my gosh. Probably be the garbage person that's picking up the loud truck Monday morning.
Oh,
It's so loud.
that's true. And the last one, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome home.
That's great. That's good. Well, Carrie, I can't thank you enough. You are always such a warming spirit. You always make me smile when I hear from you. And I know that there's so many others in the group, in the comments, that just absolutely love you. And we, as Sandy said, will follow you wherever you go and show up at, and come back anytime.
Oh, I love it. Yes, we definitely have to do another one. There's so many things we didn't get to talk about.
Right.
So many slides, so many things.
Let's not discuss spiders the next time, sorry. You know, I did that to myself. Let's not do that.
I didn't get to talk about, you know, so many things. Being nailed to the outside of a barn in a forest in Romania.
Right,
you know, things like that. Look at Lisa's face.
We're gonna have a group session tomorrow. I think we need a little bit of group session for sure.
And whose orgasm was it, Barb?
Amy's orgasm.
It was Amy's. We're gonna
With the hot gun guys or something.
I swear to you, it's a little indie film. It was written and directed by a woman.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Amy's orgasm next time for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And also hot guys with guns.
Yeah, we need to use about that.
Yeah, we're gonna dig into your indie films next time because Barb was reading them off, and I was defending your honor, going,
"Oh, sure."
I'm like, "That's porn. Those are porn movies." Carrie did not. Are you looking at the right Carrie?
Are you sure you got the right one?
Like I said, a girl has got to make a living. That's all I'm saying.
You know, you can't judge a movie by its title.
That's right. That's right.
You can't.
Right.
Carrie, please make sure that you give Michael and Daphne, of course, our love.
Of course, I will for sure.
And
thank you so much. You are amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. We'll see you soon.
We love you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Goodbye, guys. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate y'all, and we will see you next week. We're going to go ahead and...
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
We got our financial supporters, our Patreons. We got Destiny Larimore. We got Terry and Kay Collier, Sandy Morrison, Lauren Perkins, Ben and Melissa Gilbert, Pamela Blythe, Marianne Craig, and Dustin Baker. And of course, as always, we want to give a very special thanks to our camp mommy and poppy. We got
Aw.
Casey and Oscar, and they are lip locked terminally.
Oh,
Thank you guys. We love you.
thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.